doesn't work. Then I find this guy. And what this guy did, which I believe is unbelievable, is, like myself, he was dedicated to the same thing. It's not about apps for apps. It's not about technology for technology. It's about technology that makes your business better and helps you do business. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Do you want technology that makes you more efficient? Yes or no? And that is sexy and helps you do more transactions? Yes or no? So it is with unbelievable, just humbled excitement that I introduce you to our next speaker. And my request is, even though it's like, 10 to 4, and it's day 2 and it's Thursday, and I know some of you were dancing till like 11:45 last night, because that's when you finally stopped tweeting, which means you probably danced till 1 a.m. I want you to give this young guy the biggest round of, I want energy on steroids as he's walking up on stage. Will you do that for me? Ladies and gentlemen, the chief evangelist of Inman, Mr. Chris Smith.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Yep. Knock him down.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. This guy, gotta love him. So, when he asked earlier who had seen me speak before, I wanted to thank the 17 people that clapped. Where were they at? Thank you, guys. So, I got a couple young kids. I live in Brooklyn. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. Is this supposed to be like that rock star wind? Is that what that's for? I don't have my little thing might not do real good with that machine. Let me move. So I got a 2.5-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son, and, they're better at the iPad than I am. It's so intuitive for them. And so I'm sitting there watching Dora with my daughter. We had just bought this new big screen Samsung TV, LED, 1080p, just loving it. And I'm on the iPad tweeting or something. And she basically wanted to change from Dora to something else, right? And I'm like, sure, babe, what do you want to watch? Anything you want to watch, right? As long as you're letting me relax, you can watch whatever you want. So she's like, no, Dad, I can actually, oh, you're going to turn that down? Thanks, dude. She says, I can actually change it myself, Daddy. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like a proud moment for me as a father. She already knows how to use the remote control. She's 2.5 years old. Well, now I kind of want it back. So she goes to the TV and she goes to grab the remote, and I'm thinking, how is she going to change it to Disney? How does she know how to do this? So she walks over to the TV, and quite naturally, she takes her hand and she swipes the TV, pushes it back off the entertainment center, because for her, she thinks it's touchscreen. Right? Think about that. My son and daughter will never use a keyboard, you guys. Never. Ever. They won't know what a mouse is, right? A mice, whatever you call it. So what's interesting to me is kind of the future is in your pants, which is a pretty cool title. It's really just about the way the world's changing. There's a video on YouTube, it's a little 2-year-old kid. They hand him a magazine. He's so frustrated. He's ripping pages out. They hand him an iPad. Very intuitive. So I'm going to talk today about mobile and talk a little bit about why it's changing the world. I'm going to pull up a number here on the screen, if we can pop up the first slide. 1 million versus 350,000. Every day there are 350,000 babies born. Every day there are 1 million Android devices turned on. Think about that. So you have 1 million people that have a smartphone every single day. But as far as the babies, 350,000. So kind of the cyborg nation is starting to appear. There are now more smartphones in the United States than there are people. There are more cell phones in the world than there are toothbrushes. And I can confirm that, okay? I was in the hallway earlier. This is a funny one. 3 out of 4 people with a smartphone have actually admitted to using it while also using the restroom. Right? In fact, 16% of cell phones have tested positive for fecal matter. I was thinking about that. I was like, you guys remember that app called Bump? You bump it. Maybe that's why that didn't take off. We're so connected to these devices There are 55% of women who would prefer to leave their home without makeup over without their smartphone. I hope that's not a trend that picks up, but yes. And 11% of Americans have actually admitted that they'd rather leave home without their phone instead of their pants. So, anybody here sleep with their phone? Anybody? You know, you couldn't take like a 386 desktop and bring it on the couch with you, right? I mean, it just didn't work. So it's an intimate relationship that we have with our mobile device. I know you guys are all texting and driving. No one would admit it. If I said, how many of you text and drive? Not a lot of hands would go up, but we know what's happening. What's interesting to me is, this is just an interesting stat. When you take the time to send a text message while you're driving, you actually take your eyes off the road for 4.6 seconds. And if you're going 55 miles an hour, that's the length of a football field that you drove blindfolded. Think about that. And what's also interesting with that is kind of back to the Gary Vee, a lot of agents have purchased billboards and park benches, and people aren't looking at the billboard. They're not looking at the park bench. They're not looking at the road, are they? Looking at their phones. So what I believe is that the future is the mobile device, and I'm going to try to tie it together for you guys today. When you think about photography, 720p, 1080p, all these things, look at this statistic. Look at the year 2000. In the year 2000, there were 86 billion. This is not that long ago. I was in college. There were 86 billion photos taken in the year 2000. 99% of them were analog. They weren't digital. Fast forward 10 years. In 2011, there were 380 billion pictures taken, and 99% of them were digital. There's as many photos taken every 2 minutes right now as there were by mankind as a whole in the 1800s. So this revolution where you have this device anytime you need it, when you need it, is very real. Anybody here feel overwhelmed with their email? Show of hands. Okay. I'll give you guys a couple of advice on email. Your email is what everybody thinks you should do with your day but you. Does that make sense? So I have a little policy that I don't check my email in the morning until I've at least made a few people smile. Whether that's on Twitter, whether that's a phone call. Email has started to control our days. We get about 147 messages per day. We spend 2.5 hours per day on email. Every 5 minutes, we get another push notification, another email coming in. How you doing, Robin? Good to see you. And there's a service that can help you guys with that. So you see the unroll.me. What's really cool about this is it goes into your inbox. It's for Gmail only. If you're not using Gmail, if you're using something like AOL, please catch up. I don't even make BlackBerry jokes anymore. I don't even need to. People make them for me. So if you go to unroll.me and you put in your Gmail account, in 1 second, it finds every email that you're getting from kind of a marketing machine. So if it's Target or Victoria's Secret or whatever it is. And you can actually go in about 2 seconds and hit minus, save. You'll never get an email from those companies again. Has anybody ever tried to unsubscribe? Thank you. Yeah, I didn't create it, but I'll take the credit. Hell yeah. Has anybody ever tried to unsubscribe from an email from that little link at the bottom? You guys know what I'm talking about? So normally that doesn't lead to an unsubscribe. That leads to a Viagra purchase, right? It takes you down this really weird path. 3 days later, this guy brings you blue pills. I certainly don't send them back, but you guys get the point. The other thing with push notifications and push email is that it's a constant reminder, and Tom's really good about focus, right? I'm not a coach. Tom's a coach. I'm a tech guy. But I know that every 5 seconds, another push alert coming through your screen is not good for focus. If you're at a listing presentation, you're trying to do it on your iPad, right? You're trying to be savvy, and all of a sudden it says, there's a new background available for Pimp Your Screen. These are things that don't need to be pushed to you. So go into your notifications on your iPhone, on your Android. Get rid of the push alerts that you don't need. If you see that logo, Away Find, this is a new technology that I think is perfect for real estate agents. It allows you to take your emails and it allows you to only get push emails from who you want or the sender of your choice. So if you're getting leads from Zillow, You need to get a notification on your phone. But you don't need to get a notification on your phone for every email that you get. If you're working with a client and you're in process right now, and you know that you hung up and they're going to send you something that you need, it'd be great to get a push notification for that. But you don't need 100% of your emails pushing into your phone. So the way I do it is you set up a wayfind, and you can tell it who the sender is that you want the push alerts from and who you don't want them from. And now all of a sudden you don't get 50 push alerts a day. You get 5 that matter. So there's technology that's solving real problems, you guys. It's not just about apps like Tom said. This is always one of my favorite parts. How many of you guys are an Android lover? Raise your hand, cheer, whatever it is, yeah? iPhone, come on people, make more noise than they just did. iPhone? Yeah. Thank you. Palm? Blockbuster? Yeah. So what's interesting for iPhone and Android is for every 10 apps right now that are being built, 7 of them are being built for Apple. So if you want the newest apps, if you want the latest and greatest, you're going to need the device that's made by Apple. Here's why. When you build for the Android device, that's a visual representation of how many different Android devices are out there. So if you're a developer and you're looking at that, that's really intimidating. It's really hard to build an app that works on all those different screen sizes, Motorola, Nokia, all these different companies. So I do have one tip for those of you that have an Android and you want the latest and greatest apps, get an iPhone. The other thing when you develop for Apple, when you build an app for the iOS, which is what they call it, iOS, you get a little bonus called the iPad. How many of you guys own an iPad? I always say I touched an iPad and I liked it, okay? If you build for Apple, you get 88% of the tablet share because the app works on the iPad as well. So I just want to explain why when we go through these apps, they may not all be available for Android. Very few of them are going to be available for BlackBerry. But the cool thing is people are starting on Apple, they're establishing a user base, and then if it's an app worth having, they go to Android second, which is fine. One last stat on this. If you're a developer, for every $1 you make from your iPhone app, you only make 24 cents from your Android app. So this is just business. This isn't personal. There's a reason people are looking at the iPhone to build first. The other thing you have to start thinking about, and this is crazy to me, 1 year ago, Outlook was the most opened email platform. So more emails were opened in Outlook than anywhere else. In fact, it was 37% of all emails that were being opened in Outlook 1 year ago. Well, I don't have Outlook on my iPhone. So now 20% of the emails being opened, the largest share of email opens is on a phone. You guys check your email on your phone more than on your computer? Yes? So what does that mean to your strategy? How many of you have sat down and said, now that people are opening our emails on their phones, how do they need to be different? Do they need to look different? You guys know you get the email and it says, click here to view in the browser. Has anybody ever clicked that, by the way? So I wouldn't put that in my emails. One of the things Google did, Tom mentioned Google, they set up a website called howtogomo.com. And what it allows you to do is put your website in, and it'll instantly grade it on a mobile device. It'll say, you know what, your website sucks. Here's what you can do to fix it. Or it'll say your website's doing really well, don't change a thing. The reason they're doing this initiative is they're going to remove websites from the mobile search engines that aren't mobile optimized or friendly. How many of you have waited more than 5 seconds for a page to load on your phone? You don't wait. I mean, you've had to, but you don't like to. The most popular button on the internet is the back button, you guys, okay? When things don't load quickly, we bail. When things don't load quickly on a BlackBerry, you take the battery out. I got a couple left. So when we get into apps, I want you guys to think about apps as kind of like folders or buckets, right? There's certain buckets of apps that you need to run your business. I'm going to go through some apps that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. We're going to start off with apps that are meant to beef up your social life. So these are basically social media centric apps. Facebook, of course, has a bunch of great apps. One thing a lot of people don't know is Facebook is starting to break their apps down because it doesn't work fast enough. Their main app is slow, it's a little clunky, so now they have an app if you have a business page, it's a separate app. They have an app if you want to send messages and do chat, and they have an app if you want to take pictures to upload. So that again kind of proves that speed is important. Even Facebook has had to kind of segment their apps down a little bit. So Facebook, that's not groundbreaking, certainly you should have it. One quick tip on Facebook, stop lurking and start engaging. The fact that you can sit at lunch and tell people that you thought a picture of their daughter was beautiful, that's really powerful, you guys. But if all you do is go in and read and scroll through, now there are some people that are happy to say what they feel on Facebook. But what I've learned meeting a lot of agents is that they're just not quite comfortable yet communicating, interacting, and engaging. So think about mobile as an assistant for that. Anybody here using Twitter? A few people? Yeah. Like 3, to be honest. I've been watching the stream. Come on. Pound Tom Ferry SS, you guys. So Hootsuite, for me, is the only way to manage Twitter on a mobile device, whether it's an iPad, a BlackBerry, an iPhone, or an Android. If you're going to manage Twitter, you have to use a client like Hootsuite. It provides great data. It's got a beautiful user interface. It allows you to set up these really great columns. But definitely take a look at Hootsuite for Twitter. Twitter.com and the Twitter app are actually not the best apps to use if you're tweeting. LinkedIn just came out with a new app for the iPad. LinkedIn's made some big steps forward as far as mobile. If you haven't seen it, what they did is a couple things interesting. One, they said, we don't want tweets in LinkedIn anymore. So no tweets are pushing into LinkedIn. Because it's kind of weird to go to LinkedIn and it's like all tweets in there and @ symbols. It doesn't really make sense. So what LinkedIn's done is they've gotten rid of that. They've really stepped up their mobile game. Who's looking at my profile? Who in my sphere of influence got a job? Whose birthday is it? Things like that. They surface it really easily. Great opportunity through LinkedIn Mobile. Anybody here using Google Plus? Any Google Plus users? So Google Plus is new and it's kind of emerging, but what I would recommend is at least understanding how the Hangouts work. And that's not a joke about the future being in your pants, by the way. That's kind of a tie-in, Hangouts, and you guys get the point. So what you can do with Google Plus is you can have up to 10 people do a live chat at the same time. Video, so the mortgage guy, the client, yourself, somebody's at the home. We've got agents. Anybody here selling homes sight unseen? Please raise your hand. This is very, very common these days. And so what you can do with these video technologies like Google Plus is you can do a virtual walkthrough. In my opinion, if you do a good job with video marketing, if you do a good job with kind of Skype and some of these video tools, the first showing should be online and the second showing should be in person. Think about that. How many of you like second showings better than first showings, right? So while a lot of agents are still kind of keeping this data, they want everything to themselves, they're against syndication and all this stuff, there's other agents that are giving and giving and giving, and it's working, you guys. So be willing to share and use video. Anybody using Foursquare? Any Foursquare people checking in? So this is where it's going to start to get a little creepy for a lot of people in the room. So Foursquare allows me to tell people where I'm at and what I'm doing. Spotify allows me to basically stream what I'm listening to into the social space. GetGlue allows me to check in while I'm watching TV shows and movies. Food Spotting lets me show people exactly what I'm eating while I'm eating it at the restaurants that I'm at. Anybody freaked out yet? Okay. So there's an app called Path. Because a lot of people get scared of all that. You know, you're basically live streaming what you're doing. They know what you're listening to. They know what movies you're watching. Well, Path is a fascinating app because what they've done is they've looked at what's called Dunbar's Law. I think that's how you say it. And they believe that there's not going to be more than 150 people in your life that are going to really be meaningful to you. So it's kind of like Facebook, and it's kind of like LinkedIn, and it's kind of like all these other apps, but you can't connect to more than 150 people. So you'd probably be a little more selective than on like Facebook or Twitter. Path is really exploding, you guys. The founder of that company is an absolute genius. Now, if you want to go a little bit more private than that, there's an app called Pair. Pair is a two-person social network. So the photos and the food and all these things that you can do with the music, it's literally just an app between you and your spouse. or you and your brother. Or in Tiger Woods' case, he downloaded it 14 times. But you guys... So the privacy is a very real issue. Pair is something that really addresses that, as is Path. So it's nice to see kind of, as things get big and scary, there's also a reverb of things getting smaller. You hear a lot with internet marketing and stuff on the web that content is king. Has anybody ever heard content is king? Okay. The problem with content being king is that you guys aren't real good at creating content because you're busy. It's nothing personal. You're real estate agents. You're not writers, a lot of you. You're not video, you're not handsome like me, You're not But you guys get the point. Creating videos, doing podcasts, writing blog posts. That sounds great in theory. But how many people, please be honest, because I think it's nice for everyone to see. Please stand up if you've never written a blog post in your life and you have no intention to. Please stand up. This is the reality of the world we live in, okay? So what I think is king, I think curation is king. I don't think content is king. I think finding sources of great information and sharing it with your 150 people that know you and love you, I think that's going to work better than trying to become a content creator. So there's some apps that help with that. There's a new app that just came out called Fancy. This is the sexiest app I've seen in a long time. It's like Pinterest for the luxury market, okay? And what I'm using it for is not necessarily to build connections or try to get another listing. I'm finding some of the most beautiful content I've ever seen, and then I'm taking that content to Facebook and Twitter where I do have an audience and sharing it there. So Fancy is something to keep an eye on. The rumor is Apple is in negotiations to buy Fancy. It's a beautiful interface, stunning UI. Fancy is a really cool app. Anybody ever heard of this app, Houzz, H-O-U-Z-Z? Again, you guys, this is real estate porn. Okay? I can go into Houzz, I can choose bedroom, style, metro. It instantly surfaces photos, but they're all professionally taken. They're all done by designers, architects, not agent MLS photos. I've seen those. So you can quickly surface these beautiful images and again, email it to one person. Copy it and put it on Facebook and share it and say, who would love to live in a place like this? It's okay to dream a little. I would rather stay top of mind with stuff like this than stay top of mind with my own listings and open house invites and all that other stuff that we see on social. So Houzz is really fascinating. Pinterest I'm certainly a fan of. It's not just for the ladies. But it's definitely a great place to curate content again. Find stuff that's great. If something's been pinned or repinned or liked 5,000 times, there's a pretty good chance that your Facebook friends will think it's pretty cool too. Does that make sense? So again, this is a curation approach, not a creation approach. Zeit is really cool. How many of you are familiar with Pandora? Show of hands, Pandora? Okay, cool. Everyone knows Pandora. Zeit is like Pandora for the web. It allows you to read articles, say if you liked it or not, say if you like the source or not, if you like the author or not, and it actually gets smarter over time. So you can set up a real estate category, a category for your city, categories that are in line with your passions. And I find myself going into Zeit a lot, you guys. For me, these RSS feeds are going to die. I don't want to read all 17 articles that TechCrunch puts out every day. But I wouldn't mind reading the best two. And that's what Zeit creates for you. Google Currents is another really cool app that does that. This is a little bit more of a traditional reader app. So you take all your favorite websites like Inman, like Wall Street Journal, whatever they may be, your local paper, and you can actually just put them all into one app. It works on any device, which is pretty cool. Huffington Post is another really cool app. I wanted to throw one in there that worked on a BlackBerry. Huffington Post actually works on any device. Huffington Post is a curation model. They have original content. They have people that write for them, but they mostly pull these stories in from people all over and they kind of credit it back to the source. So Huffington Post is really good for breaking stuff that just happened, quick information. Again, it makes it easy to share. And then another app that I go into quite a bit for content is TED. Has anybody ever seen a TED Talk? You guys had the Tom X, right? If you want to be inspired and you want to find things to kind of get your mind where they should be, go into TED on your iPad and get lost for a little while. It's a beautiful experience, you guys. Some of the best presentations outside of my own that I've ever seen. Photo apps. So I'm going to fly through these, but this is going to kind of get into the world of Instagram and editing the photos. I'm a firm believer that we're in the photo economy. Facebook and Twitter and blogs and everything that you're doing, in my opinion, pictures are going to be at the core of that. First one is Instagram, and I know a lot of you guys are familiar. How many, just a show of hands, are not on Instagram yet? Please raise your hand. You need to be on there by the end of the day. It's the most popular photo social network. It's absolutely exploding. It's become my favorite destination each day. I spend 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes at a time. I'm never going to spend that much time on your website every day. Trust me. There's no allure. Like, I only need a house every 7 years. What do you want me to do? Keep searching? So if you want to get in their pants, right? If you want to stay top of mind with top of mind awareness, you need to be in the streams that their eyes are looking at each day. And Instagram's that a lot more so than something like, your own website. This is a really cool editing app called Snapseed. Snapseed. This was the iPad app of the year. And this allows you to edit photos so well. I think this is actually a play to edit listing photos. Maybe make the sky a little bit more blue. Maybe make the grass a little bit more green. But Snapseed on the iPhone, it's also on the Android and the iPad. It's really, really an easy-to-use photo editing tool. Software like this would have cost so much money, you guys, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Guess how much it costs now? I don't even say the prices on these things anymore. It's like if anyone's mad about something that's less than $5, you're probably at the wrong conference anyway, right? Couple other photo editing apps. Camera Plus. Camera Plus is one of the most popular by far. That's on the iPhone. There's one on the Android called HDR Camera Plus, so it covers both. The one on the right is called Filter Mania. But again, it's just these apps where you can take a picture that's average and make it a little bit more beautiful. Camera Plus, people that use that, I mean, they are just so religious. They absolutely love it. I think it's 99 cents, so make sure you check that out. Another new kind of phenomenon that's happening. Have you guys seen these pictures on Facebook where it's like a picture and then it's like a quote on top of it? Right? Well, there's a reason that's happening, because that content does better than plain text content. When people see an image, it catches their eye. There's a new app called Over. It allows you to kind of create those things. So you can take a picture, if you took a picture of me on stage, please feel free. And you wanted to put like the hashtag of the event on top of the photo before you shared it, or put my name or my Twitter or something like that and send it to all your friends. Over just came out a few weeks ago. It's all about typography and putting it on top of the photos that you're taking. Very, very simple to use, beautiful app. There's another app that just came out called Pitch, P-T-C-H. It's either pitch or patch. When they get rid of the vowels, it's like, what am I supposed to say? But this is an app that's actually backed by DreamWorks, you guys. DreamWorks are the people behind this app. And what's really cool, you guys are already taking pictures on your phone. Some of you are going to be using Instagram. You're taking pictures and putting them on Facebook. You're uploading them to Twitter already. What Pitch allows you to do is go into the photos that you've already taken, grab them, drag them, and it puts them into a film. It turns them into a movie. You can do real video, high-def photos. It's the photos that you've already shared. It's not like you have to go back and do any work. And one thing that's really cool they're doing is if you pull in a photo that you shared on Facebook, it'll actually pull in the comments that were made about that photo, and the comments will be right on top of the picture, when appropriate, by the way. So this is a really fascinating app to keep an eye on. There's another app called Vidi, iPhone only, iPad, heading to the Android soon. The founder of Twitter put $6 million into this company. And the concept is that people like the web and they like mobile, but they don't watch really long videos. Think about Twitter, 140 characters. When that came out, people were like, what am I going to say in 140 characters? Well, it took over the world. I think Twitter is kind of the heartbeat of America. When something big is happening in the country, like maybe Aurora, maybe when Bin Laden was killed, where does that happen first, you guys? It's on Twitter. So Vidi is the Twitter for video. It's 15-second maximum clips, and then you can throw filters and all these cool things on top of the video. But what's nice about it is it's short enough to where if you suck, you don't suck for very long, right? But where I see a good use for this in our industry is kind of, let's do 15 seconds of the kitchen. And if you want to see the bedroom, just let me know. I'm happy to do a video of that for you too. Create some wonder, create some allure with the technology. And then the last photo app I wanted to cover, I know a lot of you have seen these time-lapse photography, kind of this time-lapse where the clouds go across the sky or the sun's rising or there's cars moving in New York City. There's actually an app for the iPhone now called Real Moments, and there's one for the Android called Lapse It. And you can now take professional quality time-lapse videos straight from your mobile device. You put it on a tripod, you film something for 15 minutes, you come back in and you have 3 minutes worth of time-lapse footage. It costs $1. Productivity. How many of you feel like you could be a little bit more productive with your time? Anybody? Okay, so I want to get into some productivity apps, things that will make your life a little better. This is actually my favorite app for the iPhone for me personally. I do love Evernote. I know a lot of you guys love Evernote. Evernote's an amazing note-taking app. It's great for productivity. But sometimes less is more. My friend Mark Davison, he has this great line, I never forget it. He's out there with Nudge. Less is more, a lot less. Right? So what Clear does is it really simplifies it. It takes a heat map approach. What is your highest priority task? Let's put that at the top and make it bright red. And then at the bottom is your lowest priority. When you're done, you swipe it away. Period. It doesn't do anything but that. I love it. This is an interesting one. You guys are going to like this. It's called Twist. So you can go into Twist. Has anybody here ever run late for an appointment? Don't raise your hand. They'd all go up, right? So what's really cool with Twist is I can go into that app and I can send a text message to a client and let them know that I'll be there in X amount of time. So it looks at the traffic data. It's 99% accurate. It looks at where you're at. It's telling you, it knows how fast you're going. And it lets your client know when you arrive or if you're running late. It'll automatically send them a message saying, Chris is running about 3 minutes late, but he'll be here soon. It'll send them a text message when I pull into the parking lot saying, Chris just got here. He'll be in the, it doesn't speak in the third person. It basically says, I just got here. I'll see you in a minute. Hey, I'm running a little bit late. I'll be there in about 3 minutes. But you don't do anything. You send the first text and the technology does the rest. Now, how many people would be scared as hell if their spouse found out about this app? And then Evernote. We can't talk about productivity without Evernote. But if you're in the room right now and you feel like you could use an extra brain, that's what Evernote does for me. It allows me to take articles that I can't get to now. I want to get to them later. It's got mapping technology, photo notes, video notes, audio notes. Evernote is really, really a popular option. The last couple categories are going to be back office. These are kind of back-end apps or Kim Kardashian apps. You guys understand how that works? The first one's called Brewster. Brewster is a reimagination of an address book. So when you go into your iPhone or your Android and you're scrolling through your address book, it's very plain text. It doesn't have a lot of intelligent data. It doesn't have people's pictures. What Brewster does is it pulls all your contacts in from the social sphere. It organizes them based on where they worked, where they live, all these things. You don't have to touch it. But what I like the most about it is it then continues to watch who I'm interacting with socially. So if I were to go to Chris's wall, Chris Spikert, and write on his wall right now, the next time I log into Brewster, he's the top contact, not the lady with the last name Aaron, right? So it's an intelligent address book. It knows who you're interacting with. It knows what you're doing socially, and it organizes your contacts using that setup instead of just kind of the plain last name. Google Drive. A lot of you guys are familiar with Dropbox, yes? Any Dropbox fans? Yeah? So in my opinion, Google Drive may have just put kind of a nail in the Dropbox coffin, unfortunately. Google Drive does all the same things that Dropbox does. You can store and share large files easily, but you can also create and collaborate. So I can create a Word doc, collaborate on a Word doc, create a PowerPoint, create an Excel sheet, and then also have all the benefits of something like Dropbox where it stores it and sends it. If you're using Gmail, if you're using YouTube, if you're using Google+, try to keep as much as you're doing in one system as possible. The Google stuff talks to itself, which is really nice. Really quickly, this is an app called Quicklytics. Again, a back office app. If you're looking at Google Analytics for your website, which you should be, if you have a virtual results Jim Marks site and you want to see how many people are coming there, what they're looking at, what the keywords were, what the source of the traffic was, that's what Google Analytics does. But all of that can be done from a smartphone or a tablet now. Last few slides, probably going to go over by like 2 minutes, which isn't too bad. The last bucket for me is experience apps. How can you create a jaw-dropping experience point of sale? You sit next to somebody on a plane, how do you get them to drop their jaw? So one of the apps is called Home Snap. You take a picture of a home, you get all the details. It's like Shazam for real estate. That's how they explain it. So I can go out to the street, take a picture of a house, if it's listed or not, and get basically kind of a zestimate of the price. I can get all the information on the past owner, all the publicly accessible data. A little scary, right? Rowambi is another app that I think is beautiful. The most beautiful data you've ever seen. It's interactive. You guys send out market reports and charts, and that's cool. But what did the market do in '02 versus this year? And what if I want to compare those? And what if I want to kind of look at this data versus this data? It's a very, very interactive data experience. Tourist, that's another really cool app that'll just drop people's jaws. It's 360-degree photos, kind of a virtual tour style of the entire world, which is really cool. Tourist. There's properties in there, there's real estate, there's homes for sale. Really, really cool app. Realtor.com does a great job with their app on the iPad. I'll sit next to people on the flight, and I'll literally circle a neighborhood, and it'll drop the listings in, and they're going, oh my goodness. Like, you get the credit for this stuff, you guys. That's how I feel. I don't think when you show this to a client, say, which neighborhood do you live in? Let's circle it. And it drops the listings. I don't think they're going to go, man, those Realtor.com guys are sharp. They're going to go, this guy's got his shit together, right? Last two things. Offline still matters. You got to look up. I get that. So here's two apps that you can actually send direct mail from your mobile device. Pretty cool stuff. One's called Postagram. So once you start taking these photos using Instagram, 2 clicks later, for 99 cents, that becomes a postcard that goes into their mailbox. There's agents that are taking pictures of expired $1 million listings, dolling them up in Instagram, sending them a postcard that says, we market properties like the work of art that they are. And they can pop that picture of their home out of the postcard and put it on their fridge. Or you can keep sending sports calendars. Last one is called Apple Cards. This is for iPhone. This allows you to literally take pictures with your phone. There's tons of templates. It's like $1.99, including the envelope and the postage. And you can be doing a walkthrough with a buyer, take a few pictures again. Send them something offline. You can now send direct mail from your mobile device. That's my information, you guys. I'm going to be at the House of Blues. Anybody going to the House of Blues? Yes? Okay. And the other thing, last thing I wanted to say, Tom's a good guy. I'm a big believer. Like, he kind of mentors me. But coaching is a big deal. I see agents all the time. How many of you guys need coaching? They all raise their hand. And then half of them leave without signing up for it. So if you're here and you know you need a coach, Tom's the guy. Thank you guys so much.
Dude, hold on. I want big round of applause.
Thank you.
Because that was awesome, bro. Cool. That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.